Delete it. Now.
Carter Harrington had seen a lot of things money couldn't buy. But watching a waitress in a stained apron make 3 teenage bullies apologize to his autistic daughter, that was something else entirely. She didn't ask for permission. Didn't hesitate. Just stepped between them and his 8-year-old Charlotte like she'd been doing it her whole life. Delete it, she told the kid filming. Now. And he did. Carter was used to people doing what he said because he was a billionaire. This woman made them listen because she was right. When it was over, he tried to thank her. Offered money, donations, anything. She'd just shaken her head and walked away. But not before telling him her name, Lydia Torres. A name that would haunt him for reasons he didn't understand yet. Before we go deeper, kindly hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love knowing who's with us on this journey, and your support helps stories like this reach more people. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Carter Harrington didn't become a billionaire by caring what people thought. At 42, he'd built Harrington Properties into a real estate empire that reshaped entire city skylines. Luxury condos, shopping districts, corporate towers. If it glittered with profit, Carter built it. Critics called him ruthless. He called himself efficient. But efficiency meant nothing when it came to his daughter. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., Carter traded his $1,000 suits for jeans and a simple jacket, picked up 8-year-old Charlotte from her specialized school, and drove 40 minutes across town to Rosie's Diner. Not because the food was exceptional, not because it was convenient, but because Charlotte had declared it safe 3 years ago. And that single word was worth more than any property in his portfolio. Charlotte sat in their usual corner booth, her noise-canceling headphones around her neck, carefully arranging her chicken tenders in a precise line. She counted them under her breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then started again. Carter watched her with a mixture of love and helplessness that never quite went away. "All good, sweetheart?" he asked softly. Charlotte nodded without looking up, her dark curls falling across her face. She began eating, one tender at a time, in order from left to right. Never out of sequence. Never skipping. Carter's phone buzzed. A text from his VP. "Johnson deal closing tomorrow. Your signature needed by 9 a.m. Another property acquisition. Another neighborhood transformed. Another profit margin secured." He silenced the phone. "Daddy, the lights are too bright today," Charlotte whispered, her hands beginning to flutter near her chest. "Want me to ask them to dim this section?" She shook her head rapidly. "No. Then people will look. I don't want people to look." Carter's jaw tightened. His daughter shouldn't have to choose between comfort and invisibility. But before he could respond, loud laughter erupted from a table 10 feet away. 3 teenagers, 2 boys and a girl, maybe 16 or 17, had their phones out, pointed directly at Charlotte. One of them was recording. "Dude, look at her hands," one boy snickered. "What's she doing?" Charlotte had started stimming, her hands flapping rhythmically as she rocked slightly in her seat. It was how she self-regulated when overwhelmed. Carter had learned to see it as communication, not something to suppress. But these kids saw entertainment. "Is she, broken or something?" the girl said, zooming in with her camera. "Gonna go viral with this," the other boy laughed. #WeirdKid. Charlotte's rocking intensified. Her breathing became rapid and shallow. Carter started to rise from his seat, rage flooding his chest, but someone beat him to it. Lydia Torres moved like lightning in sneakers. The 24-year-old waitress crossed the diner in 4 strides, positioning herself directly between the teenagers and Charlotte. Her hand shot out, blocking the camera's view. "Delete it," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried absolute authority. The boy with the phone scoffed. "Excuse me? This is a public place. I can film whatever I want." "No," Lydia said firmly. "You can't film a minor without parental consent, especially not to mock her. Delete the video. Now." "Who made you the phone police?" The girl sneered. "Maybe if she wasn't acting so weird." "She's not weird, she's autistic. And your ignorance doesn't give you permission to bully a child." Lydia's eyes flashed with something beyond professional courtesy. This was personal. The first boy stood up, trying to use his height to intimidate her. "Look, lady, Why don't you just bring us our food and mind your business? This is my business. Delete the video, apologize, and leave. Or I call the police for harassment of a minor. For filming in public? Good luck with that. Lydia pulled out her own phone. Let's see. I've got your faces, your voices, and clear evidence of targeted harassment. Your parents might be interested. So might your school. Pretty sure cyberbullying violations can affect college applications. The teenagers exchanged uncertain glances. The moral authority had shifted, and they felt it. Whatever, the first boy muttered, making a show of deleting the video. This place sucks anyway. Apology first, Lydia said, not budging. The girl rolled her eyes. Sorry, happy? Not to me, to her. 3 pairs of eyes reluctantly turned toward Charlotte, who had her hands pressed over her ears, tears streaming down her face. We're sorry. They mumbled in unison before grabbing their jackets and rushing out. The diner had gone silent. Every customer was watching. Lydia took a slow breath, then turned and walked calmly to Charlotte's booth. She knelt down at eye level, careful not to invade the child's space. Hey there, she said gently. My name's Lydia. Those kids are gone now. You're safe. Charlotte kept her hands over her ears, still rocking. I know it's really loud in here right now, and the lights are probably too bright, Lydia continued. Would it help if I got you some water? Or would you like me to just sit nearby and not talk for a bit? Charlotte's rocking slowed slightly. After a long moment, she lowered her hands and whispered, Quiet, please. You got it. Lydia pulled out a small notepad and wrote, You're doing great. Take your time. She slid it across the table where Charlotte could see it, then stood and stepped back, giving her space. Only then did Lydia make eye contact with Carter. He was staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Shock? Gratitude? Something deeper? Thank you, he managed, his voice rough. I should have. You were letting her handle it at her own pace, Lydia said. That's good parenting. Sometimes they just need us to step in when the world gets too loud. You know a lot about autism. A shadow crossed Lydia's face. My little brother, Miguel. He's 12. Nonverbal, amazing kid. I've been helping raise him since our mom. She trailed off. Anyway, I recognize the signs. And I recognize when someone needs an ally. Charlotte had stopped crying. She was looking at Lydia with curious eyes. You have a brother? Charlotte asked. Her voice small but clear. I do. He likes chicken tenders too. Always eats them in order. Just like you. The tiniest smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Carter felt something crack open in his chest. This stranger had done in 5 minutes what most people couldn't do in years. She'd seen Charlotte not as a problem to fix, but as a person to understand. Can I buy you dinner? He asked. Or make a donation to an autism organization in your name? I want to thank you properly. Lydia shook her head. Not necessary. Just doing what's right. She glanced at Charlotte. Besides, protecting kids like her? That's not about rewards. That's just being human. She started to walk away, back to her other tables. Wait, Carter called out. I'm serious. I'd like to do something. What's your full name? Lydia hesitated, her hand on her order pad. For a moment, Carter thought he saw something change in her expression, recognition, anger, but it passed so quickly he convinced himself he'd imagined it. Lydia Torres, she said finally. Then she walked away. Torres. The name triggered something in Carter's memory, but he couldn't place it. He pulled out his phone, typed the name into his notes for later. He'd have his assistant research it, maybe find a way to properly thank this woman who defended his daughter when the world turned cruel. Charlotte tugged his sleeve. Daddy, I like her. Me too, sweetheart, me too. 3 days later, Carter sat in his downtown office, 70 stories above the city he'd helped rebuild. His assistant had just delivered a file on Lydia Torres. What he read made his blood run cold. Lydia Maria Torres, age 24. Currently employed at 3 jobs. Rosie's Diner, Mercy Hospital overnight custodial, and Riverside Elementary, part-time aide. Dropped out of State University in Year 2 engineering major. Reason: Family financial crisis. Family history. Mother, Carmen Torres. Deceased 2019. Father, unknown. Siblings. Miguel Torres, age 12. Autistic. Requires specialized care. Previous address. 4420 Maple Street. Unit 7B. Carter's hands began to shake. 4420 Maple Street. He knew that address. He'd signed the demolition order himself. The memory crashed back with brutal clarity. 10 years ago, Harrington Properties had acquired a struggling apartment complex in the Riverside district. Low-income housing, outdated infrastructure, sitting on prime real estate near the new transit line. Carter had offered the tenants relocation assistance, a standard payout, legally compliant. Nothing generous but nothing illegal. Most had taken it. A few had fought. The Torres family had been one of them. He remembered now. Not Lydia, she would have been just 14, but her mother, Carmen. She'd attended the community meeting, holding a small boy's hand. She'd pleaded for more time, explained that her son needed stability, that moving would disrupt his therapy and school programs. Carter's lawyers had cited the lease terms. The eviction proceeded on schedule. Harrington luxury lofts went up 18 months later. Units starting at $3,200 per month. He'd never thought about the Torres family again, until now. Carter opened his laptop and pulled up the project files. There, in the tenant logs, Carmen Torres, Unit 7B, evicted September 2015, relocation payment, $4,000. Current status, unknown. He searched Carmen's name. The obituary appeared immediately. Carmen Maria Torres, 48, passed away December 2019 after a prolonged illness, survived by her children, Lydia and Miguel. The article was sparse, but Carter filled in the gaps. A mother loses her home, her support network, her stability, falls into depression, gets sick, can't afford proper treatment, leaves 2 kids behind, one a teenager forced to become a parent, the other a special needs child who needed expensive therapy. And Lydia had been working 3 jobs to survive ever since. Because of him, Carter's intercom buzzed. "Mr. Harrington? Charlotte's school called. She's asking if you can pick her up early today." Something about wanting to go back to the diner with Lydia. His daughter's voice, hopeful and bright, cut through his spiral of guilt. "Tell them I'm on my way," he said. Carter found Lydia during her dinner shift at Rosie's. She was refilling coffee when she saw him approach, Charlotte holding his hand. Her expression hardened immediately. "We don't have your usual booth available," she said. Her tone professionally neutral, but her eyes cold. "That's okay. Actually, I was hoping to talk to you. Privately, if possible. I'm working." "Lydia, please. It's Miss Torres to you, Mr. Harrington." She practically spat his last name. So she knew. Of course she knew. She'd probably recognized him that first night and said nothing. Charlotte tugged Lydia's apron. "Are you mad at my daddy?" Lydia's expression softened immediately when she looked at the little girl. "No, sweetheart. Grown-up stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. But you seem sad. Sometimes people just need space, honey." Lydia crouched down. "Your dad loves you very much. Make sure you remember that, okay?" She stood and walked to the back, disappearing through the kitchen doors. Carter followed, ignoring the employees only sign. He found her in the storage room, hands braced against a shelf, head bowed. "You know who I am," he said quietly. 4420 Maple Street, Unit 7B, September 2015. "Ring any bells?" Her voice was shaking. "Or was my family just one file in a stack of hundreds?" "Lydia, my mother begged you for 3 more months. Just 3 months so Miguel wouldn't have to change schools mid-year. You know what happens when you disrupt an autistic child's routine? It's traumatic. But I guess trauma doesn't show up on profit margins." Carter had no defense. "You're right. We moved 7 times in 4 years," Lydia continued, her words tumbling out like she'd been holding them back for a decade. 7 times. Every time we started to get stable, rent would go up or the building would sell. Miguel regressed, lost all his progress, started hurting himself. And my mom, her voice cracked. She fell apart. Depression, anxiety, Eventually cancer that we couldn't afford to treat properly. I'm so sorry. Sorry? Lydia whirled around, tears streaming down her face. You want to be sorry now? After I defended your daughter? That's what it took for you to see us as human? The words hit like physical blows, because they were true. You're right, Carter said again. Everything you're saying is right. I signed those papers without thinking about the people behind them. I built an empire on displacement and called it progress, and your family paid the price. So what now? Lydia asked bitterly. You write me a check and your conscience is clean? No, because there's no check big enough to undo what I did. Carter's voice was raw. But I want to try to make it right. Not just for you, for everyone I hurt. I don't want your money, Mr. Harrington. Then what do you want? Lydia wiped her eyes, composing herself. When she spoke again, her voice was steady and cold. I want you to be better, for Charlotte's sake. Because that little girl deserves a father who sees people as people, not assets. She deserves better than someone who destroys families. She walked past him. Back to the dining room. Carter stood alone in the storage room, surrounded by industrial-sized cans of tomato sauce and boxes of napkins, and realized he'd just been given the most important business decision of his life. 6 months later, Lydia was closing up Rosie's diner after her shift when a black car pulled up outside. She tensed, but it was just Carter, stepping out alone. I'm not working for you, she said before he could speak. I know. I'm not here to offer you a job. He handed her a folder. I'm here to show you what you inspired. Reluctantly, she opened it. The Charlotte Foundation. Housing stability and autism support. Mission: to provide housing security, therapy access, and community resources for families affected by real estate displacement, with special focus on families with special needs children. Founding Director, Lydia Torres. Initial endowment, $50 million. Lydia's hands trembled. What is this? It's what should have existed 10 years ago, Carter said. I've spent the last 6 months reviewing every property acquisition I've made, every family displaced. We're offering reparations, housing assistance, and therapy coverage. I've partnered with autism advocacy groups, housing nonprofits, legal aid clinics. Why? Because you were right. Charlotte deserves better. And so did Miguel. So did your mother. Carter's voice was thick with emotion. I can't undo the past, but I can stop pretending it didn't matter. Lydia stared at the documents, overwhelmed. There's more, Carter continued. I'm establishing new company policies. No more mass evictions without year-long transition support. Affordable housing units in every new development. Community input before any project breaks ground. And I want you to hold me accountable. Me? You're listed as founding director, but only if you want it. No strings attached. You'd have full autonomy, a real salary, and the power to tell me when I'm wrong, which I imagine will be often. Lydia looked up at him, searching his face for manipulation or ego. She found only sincerity and shame. I still don't forgive you, she said quietly. I don't expect you to. I'm not doing this for forgiveness. I'm doing it because it's right. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Finally, Lydia said, I want Miguel's name on the foundation too. The Charlotte and Miguel Foundation. Carter nodded, tears in his eyes. Perfect. 1 year later, the Charlotte and Miguel Foundation had housed 47 families, funded therapy for over 200 children, and partnered with 12 cities to reform displacement policies. Carter still ran Harrington Properties, but now every board meeting included impact reports alongside profit margins. Some investors left. New ones arrived. The company was smaller but stronger. Charlotte started at a new school designed specifically for neurodivergent children, a school the foundation helped fund. She was thriving, and every Thursday at 6 p.m., Carter and Charlotte still went to Rosie's diner. But now Lydia joined them not as their waitress, but as their friend. Miguel came too sometimes, sitting beside Charlotte. Both of them carefully arranging their chicken tenders in precise rows before eating them one by one, in order, left to right. Two children who should have never met, brought together by tragedy and redemption. Carter watched them and thought about all the families he'd never see, all the damage he'd done that could never be fully repaired. But he also thought about the families they'd helped, the policies they'd changed, the people who now had homes and hope. It wasn't redemption. Not really, but it was a start. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for: the chance to be better than you were, and the courage to try.